All right, thanks, Todd. I am going to do sort of a, let's see, a sort of very short expansion of a point that has already been made a few times. This idea of this predator-prey relationship. We think of, it's a predatory journal, they're deceiving, they're tricking some author into doing something. And I'm going to suggest that a lot of times the prey is not actually the author is complicit in the predation, and the prey is the reader, the research community, and the just our culture at large, who are getting this sort of fake information being suggested in this guise of something that's actually been reviewed. There's clear evidence that some significant percentage of authors deliberately choose this type of publishing outlet with full knowledge of what these sorts of journals do. Some of this is, the guy on the end there is this journal of last resort, but for others it's a rational choice given the lack of oversight on what they do. So there was a recent study from many of India's highest regarded institutions, and it turns out that a lot of people there regularly publish in predatory journals. And if you look for an explanation of, well, why is this the case, if you look at a couple other sources, there was a 2015 study in BMC, Biomed Central Medicine. It showed that 75% of the authors in predatory journals are from Asia and Africa. And a 2014 study in Current Sociology suggests that in Nigeria, for example, the criteria, things like impact factor, are generally ignored in the evaluation of faculty publication records for appointment, for promotion decisions, things like that. All that matters is, are the papers published in an international journal? Means a journal that is published outside of Nigeria. So career advancement in this case is based on publishing a journal, publishing in an international journal, not a journal with an impact factor, or a journal indexed in Medline or Web of Science, not a journal in the DOAJ. We know from experience in every other aspect of academia that researchers are usually very busy people, very pressed for time. They really want to spend that time doing research rather than jumping through administrative hoops. They don't want to meet requirements unless they absolutely have to. There's really a clear pattern of taking the path of least resistance to getting done what needs to be done, and let me get back to what I really want to do, which is research. And I think this is no different in some ways. A requirement's been set, and the easiest and fastest pathway to getting that done is chosen. Different incentives lead to different but still rational behavior. So if you're a researcher and you have a choice of submitting to a legitimate journal, going through a lengthy and rigorous peer review process with the potential for rejection, or paying at most maybe a couple $100 and having your article published immediately, no questions asked, and both actions count exactly the same toward furthering your career, the answer seems pretty obvious to me. So what we're seeing from some researchers is then an informed choice to minimize efforts and maximize advancement in a system with a lack of oversight in evaluation. So while predatory publishers do act in a dishonest and deceptive manner, they are at the same time serving a market need, namely the desire by some authors to fool those in charge of evaluating their performance. Bypassing editorial scrutiny provides an advantage to those authors due to poorly designed and unmonitored incentives set by their institutions. So again, we need to think perhaps less about publishers fooling authors and in a lot of cases more about why an author would choose to publish in such a manner. The other reason why you would deliberately choose to publish in a predatory journal is when it's the journal of last resort. I've not seen any studies on this. I'm not sure exactly how you do one, but there is surely some percentage of authors who are using predatory journals for putting out work that can't be published in a legitimate journal. What I mean by that is work that's poorly conceived or performed, work that does not live up to the standards of proper hypothesis-driven research, work that's plagiarized or simply falsified. That includes conspiracy-driven research on chemtrails, HIV denialism, linking vaccines to autism and the like. And again, for some group of authors, this serves a market need. If you're under pressure to publish something, but either you know that no one's ever going to check up on you, and if you have no choice because your work doesn't live up to the basic standards of the field, then this is a valuable service to you. Even worse, if you're pushing some conspiracy theory or you have some nefarious activity that you're trying to add an air of respectability to, then publishing in what many won't realize is a legitimate journal may serve your purposes. Again, how do we fix this? It's not a simple question with simple answers, but I think we need academia to make this a priority and to actually set strict requirements and set a standard. University departments, through hiring and tenure committees, place requirements or at least priorities on candidates. We're going to look at your publication record as part of the process. So for many, publishing in a journal that has an impact factor at all, or even a good impact factor, means that journal has gone through review at Clarivate, formerly Thomson Reuters, and has passed those standards. For a biomedical department, often your publications don't count unless it's a journal that's indexed in Medline by the National Library of Medicine. That's another standard of legitimacy. But they're broader nets that you can cast. So to their credit, some academic systems are actually catching on. I mentioned the study in India recently, and as a result of that, in India, the University Grants Commission came out with a whitelist of 38,653 approved journals which will be recognized for academic credit. Publishing elsewhere is not counted towards advancement. And I think things like this are a step forward, but they do suffer from the same problems that all whitelists suffer from. This list has already been shown to be imperfect and have some predatory journals in it, but still better imperfect than non-existent. I think there are some other approaches. Potentially we can discuss in the questions some ways to sort of automate this and to bring publishers into the circle and be able to provide evidence of legitimacy. But that's all I wanted to say, so thanks.